listening to Xposed Living, Be Ageless, the podcast where we drop the masks, flip the script, and talk real life, real love, and real leadership unfiltered. I'm Stacey Vanthuyne, coach, speaker, entrepreneur, and founder of the Xposed Living movement that's redefining what it means to live, lead, and grow at any age. We talk identity, reinvention, belief, and freedom from the bedroom to the boardroom. Yes, we go there. This is not about staying young. This is about waking up. So if you're done with the shoulds and craving more fun, more freedom, more truth, more you, then grab your favorite drink, your bestie, maybe your journal. It's time. Let's get exposed.
Welcome back. Today I get to sit down with someone who isn't just a friend. She's a sister in the unapologetic, bold way of living. I really feel that way, Erin. Erin and I met almost 3 years ago when we were both stepping out of our old worlds and into coaching, consulting, just really exploring what does that next level of boldness look for each of us. And I think we've continued on this evolution of recognizing it never stops. She had just launched her podcast, Unapologetically You, and asked me to be a guest. We hit it off instantly. Two Gen X women who were tired of living by everyone else's rules and ready to rewrite them. Since then, I've had the honor of speaking at her first event in Charlotte, being a guest on her show not only once but twice, and watching her embody what it means to live unapologetically, to follow her heart, to build bold businesses, and choose freedom for her family. She and her husband sold everything. They moved into an RV and are now living on the road, supporting their son's motocross dreams while she leads retreats, masterminds, and powerful spaces for women and couples to uncover their truth. This conversation is about what happens when you stop apologizing, stop hiding, and stop playing small. It's about faith, family, freedom, and what it really takes to live bold, live free, and unapologetically, as this woman, my friend, Erin Renninger. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you so much, Stacey. I'm so honored to be here with you today. Any time that I get to spend with you is just, I feel so blessed. I'm so grateful for our time together. It is just magical. Every time that, the energy, this is like literally when the first time we met, right? The first time we're like, let's do a Zoom call. It was like energy through the screen, just like happening today, right? It never ends. Like when we're in person, like I remember when we first met in person, it was like instant. Like it was like this energy that it wasn't like we met for the first time, right? And every time that we get together, it's just this big, bold, like energy ball. Like I always say, there's a lightning bolt on my sign behind me. Like it literally is that all of the time, this ecstatic electricity that I just love so much. You are such an inspiration to myself and so many women in this world. And I'm just honored to be here today with you.
You give me the goosebumps because I feel the same way about you. I always say to some people when they have red hair or they're from Saskatchewan or something, I'm like, and I come give them a hug and I'm like, we're like sisters. And they're like, sorry, I didn't get that memo, but you did. And it was just like two sisters coming together, and it is. I feel the same way about you. And I am so excited for you to share with our community, like all of the boldness, the braveness, the courageousness that you've demonstrated over the last, few years now. And I know like before then you were still doing it. You had a very successful salon. And so even to achieve that level of success, but then to walk away from something that most people would envy even having. How did you do it? What did you do? Share with people.
To laugh if you can hear a dirt bike in the back.
I know. I honestly, so I should like share with people that you are outside in a motocross.
This, right?
Okay,
right. This
you
is
hit
my
it.
life. Like this is totally my life, right? If you heard a dirt bike in the background, I hope Stacey doesn't edit that out, right? Because that's really my life. And no matter what, like when I first started this journey, it was like, oh my gosh, when I started doing podcasts, when I was on the road, it was like, oh my gosh, it has to be silent. I have to edit this out, or how do I get this out? Or oh my gosh, there's a brap in the background. And I'm just like, this is my life. I can't edit my life. And that's really what it comes down to. It was like a big realization that you should not edit your life. Life is not perfect, ever. Everybody has a different level of what they think perfection is, and it's unattainable. So why do I want to be like everyone else? Not everybody can record a podcast and have a dirt bike rapping in the background, right? This is my life. This is who I am. This is what I dreamed about doing, was being able to travel the world with my son, being able to ride a dirt bike as long as he can and train and do chase his dream, right? This is what it is. This is about living the dream. And that's exactly what we're doing. So that's probably not the last time that you might hear a dirt bike in the background, because we are currently at a training facility and they must have been on a break for a second. He came back to get a drink or whatever he was doing behind the wall, right behind the pretty green wall that I built, because this is just what it's about, is going after it and not apologizing for what my life is like, not asking for permission of how it needs to be done, what it needs to be, what it needs to look like in someone else's eyes. It is what you want. And that's really what it came down to. And this is where the unapologetic came about, in my podcast of being unapologetically authentic. Is it really comes down to stopping the asking, stopping the asking of permission to other people of, is this okay? Can I do it this way? Right? And that authenticity is stop comparison. Stop looking at other people on social media, in the world, and thinking, I got to be like that, and start doing what fully makes you feel alive. And it doesn't have to be the same as anyone else out there.
No, and I love that. Like, I have a question though, because how did you start to figure out what it is that you want? Because I think in a world where many of us as Gen X women, especially, and I'm not discrediting the men too, but I think that we are a little bit more people pleasers than men can be at times, and have this responsibility, whether given to us or we assume that it's our job to take care of people and to make sure that everyone feels comfortable. And so how did you even recognize, or have you always had that ability to ask yourself those questions of what it is that I want, and to start uncovering, to live unapologetically? Because I think for me, at least, it was even a realization of like, I don't know what I want right now. Like, I don't know what I want. That's why I've been asking, but because I just got lured into like doing the things that I thought would make me happy, versus recognizing I had to ask myself those questions.
Well, because I love how you say people pleasing, because that's really what I stand for. And that's really what I had to let go of, was trying to please everyone else. And a huge realization of that was, thinking back of even when I went into my career as a hairstylist, right? I had stepped away from, that's not what my parents wanted me to do. Right. And it was like, but this is what I want to do. And I just laid that standard down of, this is what I'm going to do. I didn't need your permission. I'm going to do it my way. And I did. And then I did that for 20 years, right? I worked for someone else in a salon and did what they wanted. But I had this vision. It was like, okay, what do I want? What do I want? But the moments that kept creeping in on when I started to step more into my life of things that I wanted, then having to ask permission, right? Having to do it this way, not being able to show up and provide my clients, because again, I worked in that industry of service. Like, as a hairstylist, think about when you go to sit in their chair to get your hair done, right? You have to please them. And that's okay. So this is not about never pleasing anyone, but it's about doing it on your level, on your standards, and not having yourself to be lowered, to feel less than, and holding that standard of who's going to sit in my chair, how I'm going to be treated, how I'm going to treat them. And so this is where it all really started, was back in 2019, I went on a family trip with just the five of us, right? We had done it in 2016, but in 2019, we did it again, an RV trip across the country. My kids have been in almost all 50 states, been in almost all the national parks in the US. We have traveled a lot. And I realized at that moment, like, I wanted more of that. I wanted to design a life that I could do that and see more. Like, no one was going to tell me what I can and can't do, type of thing. So this is where it started, was I started diving into self-development, self-discovery, and I don't want to say women empowerment, because I feel like that's an overused term. And I just feel like it's the point of, I was going to do life for me on my terms, and I wasn't going to try to keep impressing everyone around me. I wanted to make myself happy. I remembered my life literally driving a car, like getting a new car and being like, man, does this prove that I've had enough success? Is this where I'm working? Is this prove that I have enough success? If I buy this, do I have enough success? Am I proving myself that I have this success? If I have my dream home, is that proving that I'm successful in what I'm doing in my life? It was all these materialistic things, and I did it. I did it all, right? I
Hmm.
proved success. I had the dream home. You know, Bill and I have bought and built multiple homes in our life with our family. We have been in the trenches working really hard to get to what we wanted. You know, I had drove the brand new cars all of the time, and we traveled and we did all of these things. But for what? For what? So it just came to the point where in 2020, I was like, that's it. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to do things on my standards. I'm going to run the life. I'm not going to be told what I can and can't do, when I can and can't take off time off work, right? And do these things. So I wanted to create a space that was safe for my clients, that made them feel like they were the only one. Because that's when you can really like feel safe, is when you feel like you are the only one in this world and no one can hurt you.
You know, it's the like in my head as I'm listening to you speak, like the word judgment comes up, right? In my head.
Yes.
And like, is that what's stopping people from safe? Is this fear of judgment?
100%. There was all sorts of judgment. Like, who are you, right? Who are you to do this? Who are you to make this choice? Who are you to go against the grain? Who are you to do something different? You know, who are you to have kids? Who are you to marry your high school sweetheart? Who are you to live this life, right? And I just laid it all aside and quit looking outward and totally turned inward of like, what do I want and what is best for myself? What is best for my husband and what is best for my children? And that
It's
was the
so,
only questions I started asking myself.
and how did you get to there? Because that's overriding a lot of beliefs. Because society tells you that they already know what's best for you, and your thing is to earn this certain amount of money, to build the house, to get the car, to make sure you have the savings for the kids to go to university, all of these types of things. It's almost teaching us like once, and I think that what you're trying to say, or what I was receiving from it, is that like success isn't a destination. It's not once I get this, I'm successful. It's like if I don't feel successful doing the things that light me up or doing the things that I'm currently doing, then it doesn't matter what else I get. Oh, you pause. Erin's outside. Did you hear that? Did I lose you for a moment?
Yeah, you froze for a moment.
Sorry.
There you go. You're back.
Okay. So I had both of us freezing. Did you hear what I said? It was like I almost feel like it was like we were taught that success is once you achieve a certain level of something or have the car or have the whatever. But is it really that you recognize through your thing, and what beliefs did you have to override to say no? Like success is every day when I'm doing the things that light me up.
That's exactly it. And that's the problem is at what level of success are you going to be happy? Is my big question. Here's the thing, is because when you hit the level that you think you're going to be happy, you celebrate it for 5.2 seconds and then you're on to the next goal. And then you're always stuck. Like, have you ever read the book Between the Gap and the Gain? Right? Because here's the thing, you're always stuck in the gap. You're not stuck in the gains of what you're actually learning, what what lives are you actually changing in this world, right? At what level of success, and if you stop chasing success and just live in the present moment of what you're doing that makes you happy and what sets your soul on fire, that's when you're living the dream, right? It doesn't matter what you success looks like from the outside, because here's the thing, people are going to judge you no matter what. No matter what you do, whether you are making 7, 8 figures a year or you are living on wealth, people are going to judge you. So what are you going to do that's going to impact your life, impact others' lives in a good, positive way that's going to change who you are, but change who they are, but no longer hanging on this of what do they think? Am I enough? And that's the question I stopped asking myself was, am I enough? And I'm not saying that I haven't struggled with this, like that it comes back up, right? That it always leads back to this. I'm not saying that one day I decided like, I don't care what people think. I'm going to do what I do. And I never looked back. I would be lying to you. It's a constant, uh, a
It's a
habit.
practice. It's a
It's a
practice.
practice that I have turned into a habit that I have to overcome every day. Right. And I'm not saying that it hits you every day that you worry about it, but it does come back. It does come back. What are people thinking? And here's the thing is when we decided to close my business as a salon, when we decided to sell everything we own, jump in their RV and take off, people couldn't understand what we were going to do, right? Because they couldn't wrap their head around it. Whether they're like, how are they doing it? Why are they doing it? What are they running from? What is happening in their life? What's happening in their marriage? What about their children? What about all of these things? They start to talk. And it's crazy what people, when they can't grasp what you're doing in your life, what they will say. And I could have sat back and been like, oh my gosh, I'm so worried about it. Like, I can't believe they said this. It was literally like this huge release of, I don't care what they say, because they were going to talk if we stayed and ran our normal life, like normal, I say that in quotes, we're on a podcast, normal life of working and staying in a home and, kids doing the things, like all of these things, but already realizing we didn't have a normal life. We already didn't have a normal life. What we did with motocross, what we do, how much we travel, our kids had seen so much of the world that most people as adults will never see. Like, we already weren't normal. So what were we trying to prove?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
were we trying to prove by having all of these things? That, here's the thing, you can't have everything at once in your life, I always say. You get to choose what's most important. And that changes throughout your life. Like, we were just talking about raising teenagers and as they're getting older, like, what your needs are, what their needs are, what your wants are change over time. And that's okay. That's the biggest thing, is people can't understand the change. Why would you do that?
Yeah. And so when you do that, like, I mean, I think the people don't understand, or the people that talk, are the people that are feeling something's missing in their own lives, right? So they're going outwards to look for it. Or the people that honestly love you and care about you, but it's not their dream. So they don't realize that, they don't see the vision because it's not their dream. They're scared for you, right? And so, you and I were even talking about it with our kids. Like, there's sometimes we don't see their dreams, so we start being fearful for our kids, and then realizing, oh my gosh, I'm doing what I said that I'm trying to not have other people do to me. I'm portraying that to my children or whatever, right? But the reality is, it was your dream to live and to figure out. And so it is. And there'll be days that are good, and there are going to be days that are challenging. That's life. But then that's really the success quote that we talk about, is, how do I become more as I navigate through these adversities and start seeing them for happening for us, not to us?
Absolutely. And like the people, like, I want to circle back for a minute. Like, you're talking about even the people that are closest to you, right? They get scared.
Right.
Here's the reason they get scared: because they know there's change and they don't know how. Right? And not everybody close to you is going to support you because they don't understand the change and they're fearful. People project their fears onto you, and we've all done it. I projected my fears, like you just said, onto our children, right? Like, I want to say, as parents, we probably do that the most, right? Because it's a control thing. We want to hold that control over everything in life. And that's the other thing with staying in a job maybe that is paying the bills, but it's not terrible. Some people are in a job that they hate, right? And they'll stay there because they're like, well, I don't have another option. And that's not true. That's what you tell yourself to stay stuck, or their fear of going backwards, right? Their fear of making a change, starting over in their life, right? If you're a woman in your, 40s, 50s, we'll say middle-aged, right? How many people, I want to, as your listeners, like, are scared to, like, in your word, expose their life to start over, to stop what they're doing, to actually do what they want to do, not do what society told them to do, not do what what's expected of them, right? But to do actually what they want, but to overcome that. It might get harder before it gets easier.
And let's be honest, it will get harder before it gets easier.
100% promise you,
Right?
It's going to get harder before it gets easier. And that's the thing I think people don't talk enough about, right? You see people that, like, okay, I left this, I did this, and I'm so successful. I'm making more money now than I did when I was in the salon. Lie. Like, now, eventually, is that my plan? Yes. But do I have to realize that it may take 5 years? You can't pick up and start over again and start off exactly where you were at. Is there sacrifices that you have to make? Is there friendships that you no longer have? But is there people in your life that never would have come into your life if you didn't take the chance? right? Like Stacey and I would have never met if I didn't take that chance. I would have never stepped into this world of what I'm doing now. And creating safe places. That was the thing that really, really hit home with me, that I realized in my salon, right? I wanted a safe place for women to come to speak their mind. So many women don't have that in their life. This is where this all comes back to, is feeling safe. I put myself in a room that I felt safe to share genuinely what I wanted, what was going on in my brain, even if I thought other people were crazy, because there's a lot of things that you have a big dream that you can't tell, maybe even your best friends, because they're like, what? They can't see it, right? It's like, I remember taking one of my best friends at the time, and still is one of my best friends, but into a house that we were buying that we were going to renovate. And she was like, oh Lord, I can't see this. There I was, and I could see the vision that I had. So this is like think of this as an example, like going in a place and you have this vision of what you're going to turn it into. And it may take mass destruction to turn it into that. And how many years did it take you? What was the expenses it took you to get there? But then you showed your best friend, you made this dream come alive, and then they see it. Oh, now I see it. Right? So it's just like that in anything that you do in your life, is you got to have the vision first and see what you truly want, and you don't have to explain it to everyone.
It's so
You
important,
just
right?
have to stay focused, that you know what you're doing, and stay, on your course, right?
100%. You know what's really been coming to me lately, though, is I also think, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, is that a lot of times, though, we think that that vision has to be clear before we take action. So it's like, and it's
Absolutely not.
almost, right. And it's almost like then another type of subtle excuse that we don't even realize. It's like, well, once I get the clarity of what I want, then I'll take action, and not recognizing that that clarity comes as you take action. The next step shows itself as you're in action. What you need to know is finding that I want something different. I may not be 100% sure on it. You may know one step, and that should be enough to go. And so I've really started to think of clarity as certainty. So do I have the certainty in myself that I'm valuable enough? Do I have the certainty and the trust that everything's working out for me, that I can continue to take action and just like kind of lean back and have that faith, which I want to explore with you in a moment, of knowing that with the action, the clarity will come. The vision will continue to evolve, so to speak.
Absolutely. And here's the words that I want to use to sum everything that you just said up, and the clarity is releasing something. And it's releasing control. That was the biggest thing that I had to do, was release control, that I knew exactly when this was going to happen. I knew exactly how this was going to go. I had to surrender.
Oh, such a
And
good
like you
word.
led into the faith of it, right? And that's
Yeah.
really where it went. I had to release control. I was miserable when I was trying to control everything. Right? Even as a parent, I have been in that spot in my life where I was trying to control exactly how my kids were going to do, what they were going to do, and how they were going to do it, what relationships they were going to be in, and it almost broke me. Almost broke me. It break me, but not completely, that I wasn't able to heal that back together. But the moment that I realized that I had to release control and surrender and have the faith that God was going to make this all work out. It was all, he has a plan, right? We can say every day that I plan this out, and he laughs. He laughs at us because he's like, you think you have the control over this, but you actually don't, right? Literally, I think like more and more things keep coming. And the moment that you panic, and these things in my life that I stop panicking about so much, because it all works out. It may not work out exactly the way I think it's going to work out.
Or how, or when, but it does.
Exactly. It's his timeline again. It's not your timeline. But if you just keep showing up and diligently working after that dream, living the dream that you think is possible, everything is going to come for you in a way that you never expected it. Opportunities
I
get
love
set at our footsteps every day. The question is, are you going to take them, or are you too scared?
And I think this is it, is embracing that, like, if it was easy, you'd already have it, right? Like, if it was easy, everyone would do it. But how do you get, like, if you're not feeling resistance, then you're not growing. And that resistance is starting like to change. And I think this is the flipping of the belief, the exposing of the beliefs that we've had that maybe we haven't looked at the same way, like changing perception of actually resistance is a great thing. Fear is telling me to go for it, not to shy away, to go for it. Because I know that, you know, when you say back to God has a plan, if you have a vision, I really believe that vision ultimately was put on your heart. You don't have anything on your heart that wasn't meant for you. But we can't get it being who we are today. So yes, we're going to have to incur that resistance. We're going to have to push through. And if not, kind of back to your point, well, then I believe that's why we start to feel stuck and unfulfilled and then start searching for the outside and focusing on what's not working. And if what we focus on expands, then we get more of that shitty thing back into our lives.
Yes, 100%. And it was just a big pivotal moment to open it up to look at myself and realize, what am I doing? What do I want? We only get this one life, and am I going to let other people's opinions, words, thoughts control what I'm doing? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm just not. And
And I
it's so
love,
funny now. When I do things now, I'm not like, well, what are they going to think? What are they going to say? That part of me, I have really surrendered, because they are going to have a thought or opinion. And here's the other thing. We spend more time thinking about what we think other people are thinking about us, when guess what? They're doing the exact same thing. They're thinking about what other people are thinking about themselves. We are self-centered human beings, right? The first person that you think of is yourself, right? That's the only person taking care of you. But so many times we're so worried about that, and people aren't even thinking about you.
no,
They're not thinking about you
no,
the
you're right.
way that you think that they're thinking about you. How many times have you posted something on social media like, oh my gosh, what are they going to think? Who cares? Who cares what they
It is
think?
not.
You know, most
It's
people aren't
so
even seeing
true.
your stuff. I had a client that was like, I haven't been showing up on social media. I'm like, has anybody reached out to you and asked you, like, where you been, what you've been doing? No. I'm like, no one's even noticed that you haven't shown up on social media. It's okay. Like, be at peace with your life, be present with your life. It doesn't feel good to share about stuff right now, then don't share about stuff. But that's the only thing that I can say with social media. And it's created so much anxiety for content, people building content out there, that they've survived. Like, their survival is on, do I post enough? Do I share enough? Am I growing my business enough? Am I this, to the point where they're taking away from their family, their peace, their own, happiness, to
Happiness.
try to fill the needs of other people when they don't even notice. So if you need to step back and spend some time looking inward, and this is where it all started with me, is I stood back and started looking inward. What do I want? What do I want to create? What do I want to put out there?
It is incredible. And I want to make sure before we go any further on some of these things that we stop and talk about, though, because a lot of people say, okay, sure, Erin, that sounds easy. What do you do with your husband or family that doesn't support, or in your case, how did you and Bill, because this was like, you've been married for how many years?
24 years.
Yeah. And so when he initially, like, there's some people like, I can't do this, my husband won't. Share about your guys' relationship and how, I don't know if you had fear going in, if I'm making these changes, what will happen with my relationship, or what will Bill think as my husband? But can you share your kind of experience with how you've grown, how it's either helped or hindered your relationship?
It's honestly done nothing but help our relationship. And here's how, is I shared with him from the very first moment. This is the thing that I encourage you. If you're going to go on, if this is the first time that you're jumping into self-discovery, self-improvement, right? Like discovering what you want in life, is to bring your husband on board immediately. The best way I like to put this is, you're just getting started on this train. And it doesn't matter where you are, even if you've been on here a while, I encourage you to do it today. Okay, but Start telling your husband about your dreams, about your aspirations. Ask them about their dreams, about their aspirations. What is it that they want out of life? But do it together. And the moment that we got really curious about each other, right? More so on a deeper level of curious about why do we tick the way we do? Why do we act and react the way we do? Everything is a matter of what has happened to us in the past, right? It's our safety. It's protected us from, you know, protected us from death until now, right? Emotional, physical, spiritually, like whatever it is. But here's the thing is communication is the key to everything. But sit down and actually have a conversation. Put your damn phone down, quit staring at your phone and talk to your spouse. Have fun with your spouse. Go adventuring with your spouse. But the biggest thing is the communication. Now, Bill and I like to adventure and communicate together. So that is something that find those two things that go together. I'm not saying you have to sit on the couch and talk. That's not Bill and I. Bill and I are the ones that are out walking. Our biggest things are when we're out hiking. We always laugh. I'm like, we should never be left alone to go hiking. Like, we really shouldn't, because I'm telling you, big things come about. We're like, we get talking and creating and like, what do we want? What do we want? And we were actually just at a point in our lives right now. We were just talking. And, we're like, do we want to keep traveling? What does this look like in the next few years? Our kids are getting older and, are they going to settle down, in a certain state, or what's it look like? And he's like, I honestly don't know right now. So even if you don't know, be vulnerable and say, I don't know. Right. But that's what keeps the spark alive. And this is why we have decided to, why I've launched, we're hosting a couples retreat next year, because I feel like this is so important for couples. Next year is our 25th wedding anniversary, y'all. We have been together since I was 17 and he was 20. And we have an amazing relationship because we're open and we ask. Like, it is about communication. This is what we've taught our children. It's like, you have to communicate with your spouse, your partner, wherever it is, and wherever you're at. I mean, I've watched our children go into relationships, starts relationships. I've watched my daughter, who was actually engaged to be married and now no longer is. And it was a lack of communication, right? It's like from the very beginning. So I feel like if I could tell my younger self to look back, it would be to do exactly what we're doing, is just to communicate. If you're just getting married, or if you've been married for 25 years, open the door of communication is get curious about your relationship. That is the biggest thing, is get curious. We don't ask each other enough questions. So many times that we're like, what do we even say? Like, do I open my heart? But if you start asking your spouse questions, they start asking you questions. And that's where it just evolves. You become a better human when you can show up, when you actually know, right? As women, I can say, how many times have you thought you could read your husband's mind, or that they could read your mind?
Yes.
Right? That's what you think. You're like, why doesn't he just know? Because you guys, we are different. Men and women are different. And even two women are different. Two men are different. Like, we all have a different brain. Whoever you think your higher power is, whoever created you, right? We all have a different brain. None of us think exactly the same. As much as we think we're alike, Stacey, you and I are alike, we think totally different.
Yeah.
Right? I can't read your
perceptions.
mind. You can't read my mind. You have to ask questions. So this is what is get curious. And that's maybe why Stacey and I became, so in tune with each other, because we got curious. That's what we talk. We ask questions about each other, right? That's why you're listening to a podcast, because you're curious about what makes people tick. Get curious in your relationship, and you will see this evolution of your life getting exposed, right, of what you really want. And that's just what it turned into. One time, like 3 years ago is when it really, 4 years ago, going on 4 years ago, Bill and I went to our first couples retreat, and we got really intentional, really intimate about our time, right? No distractions. It was only about him and I. We didn't have to plan anything. Everything was planned for us. We didn't have to look at our phones. I barely had my phone to take videos or pictures, and I caught myself wasn't even doing that. And I was totally okay, because I was completely present in my life. And that's when we started having these conversations. And through all of this, even in the hard times when things didn't turn out the way that we thought that they would, because this is what I can promise you, they're not. Everything is not going to go exactly as planned. right? You may not. We laugh. I'm sitting at a training facility. Now, we said that we wanted to travel with our son. We wanted him to have, exposure to things and see the world and all of this. And it looked totally different than what I thought. We've actually been at home base in South Carolina. I say that with air quotes, home base, because we keep coming back to here, but we've created so much more of a life and seeing parts of the world and knowing that we only have a year left that he's in high school. What's next? What's it going to look like? And that's what we've actually started to discuss, is start having those discussions before they happen. So when the time comes, there's no surprise. There's no expectations not being met because you've already talked about them.
Yeah. I love this so much. And I want you to just tell people, because this will come out right before your retreat, so that people know that if you're looking for a couples retreat, be around Erin, get more Erin in your life and Bill. I'm telling you, because I think there's two pieces of it when you talk, is that there's the communication people, but a lot of relationships that I've seen, and whether it's friendship or intimate relationships, that it's communicating again without kind of those things that you were saying about before, without judging, with feeling safe, with being able to be vulnerable without having it lash out or say that you're wrong, and really understand that, like, you get to navigate this new world together again with kind of pulling, like, being respectful of, like, you're being honest with me. I got to be able to receive that in a certain way and to figure it out. It doesn't have to be the same, but those types of, like, navigation, I'm sure you'll teach that in your upcoming retreat. It's one thing to communicate, but how do we communicate effectively in a way that allows us to grow together?
The biggest thing I can tell you too is, as soon as people say communication, they think talking. Like, I got to talk, I got to talk, I got to talk. Here's the thing with communication, you have to become a better listener as well, right? Like, you have to, that's the first thing that came to mind. I'm like, okay, well, I got to talk to him more. He's got to talk to me more. I'm like, yeah, but you actually have to listen to each other. Listen and actually see into who they are as a human and what do they need. What do you need? But as a partner, like, what do they need as well? How do they need you to show up? What is not nagging them to do something, but just knowing that that's a safety thing that makes them feel good and type of thing. And the biggest thing is, we talk at this seriously about communication, but you have to have fun. When you started dating your person, it was fun. And if it wasn't fun, then you shouldn't have been dating them. Like, you have to have fun. You have to laugh. Laughter can change anything. Have a good laugh. Like, Bill and I just made this funny reel the other day, and I was just cracking up. And I'm like, I watched it 100 times myself because I love to watch my husband laugh. Nothing makes me more happy than to make someone laugh, right? Like, it is that good thing that fills them up, but fills you up at the same time.
Yes.
So I think that's what the other things with couples is, sometimes life gets so serious, you forget to laugh. Like, I'm reading a book right now that one of my dear friends, she was a stranger until last January and came into one of my retreats. And the book is called I Carry You. And it's about her losing her daughter, right, to cancer as a 3-year-old. And the thing is, I'm reading this part where her and her husband, like, they have nothing left. Like, it is, heart-wrenching, and they have laughter, right? And how that's the only thing left. And my thing is, don't wait till it's the only thing that's left to fill you back up. If that's a tip, that you should be laughing with your spouse once a day, something silly, it will change your relationship. That is intimate. Because what makes your husband laugh? What makes your wife laugh? What makes your partner laugh? You should know those things, right? And if you don't know, get curious. Get curious about that. But go on adventures. Put yourself in a position where you only have each other to talk to, where you have to trust each other to navigate through an adventure. Go get lost in the woods, right? Like, really and truly, all of these things. But yes, this is what we talk about. This is what we put you in positions of, like, oh my gosh, would I have ever done this? Would I have ever, just like, as women, we plan these vacations, right? When you plan a vacation, you do it all. Like, you have to make all the decisions. You have to, what are we going to do? What are we going to do when we get there? Where are we going to eat? What are we going to, what are we going to do at adventures? What are we going to do in our downtime? Are we allowed to have downtime? This feels weird to have downtime. Like, when everything's navigated on a plate, like, here you go. This is what you do. as a woman, I'm only speaking as a woman, right? It was the best thing that's ever happened to me in my life, was to go on a trip that I could only be intimate with my husband, meaning I didn't have to make a decision. I didn't have to worry about anything. If I wanted to go to dinner, it was at this time. If we didn't want to go to dinner, we didn't have to, right? Like, we could make a bag of popcorn and have a bottle of wine if we wanted to, whatever it may be, right? But the choice is there. And that was huge for us to just let down and really turn inward and start asking those questions. That's when I can say that we got the most curious about each other. And then we've continued that over the last 4 years. Even more so was getting curious and asking those questions. What do you need right now? Right? Not being hurt when someone is short with you or frustrated. Like, what's happening right now? What do you need right now? But yeah, this retreat is coming up. It's not coming soon. So this is the thing. There's lots of time to plan for it. I just released it, yes, but we're not hosting this until July of 2026. So if you're curious, yes, I'm pretty sure Stacey's going to drop the link in the show notes and all of that, but I would love to have a conversation with anybody that's interested. It's magical. It's been completely life-changing for me, for my relationship with my husband, for my relationship with my children, for my relationship with other human beings in general.
So good. You know, Erin, what I get from you through this whole thing, and we haven't used this word quite yet, but it is around surrendering, but it's with the intention of wanting more, of supporting each other, of finding that safe place. And I think that's what you demonstrate so well, and I admire you so much, whether it's your relationship with your husband, is like that intention of like, I'm doing this because we have the intention of wanting to be together, to stay together, to create the best life that we can. So how do we get there? And I just am so grateful that you shared everything today on this show. And so if people want more Erin in their lives, how do they find you? Where can they reach out to talk to you? Share.
You can reach out to me. You can find me on any social media platform. Instagram and Facebook is where I hang out the most. It's Erin Renninger on both platforms, everywhere you can find me. And my website is erinrenningercoaching.com. And we can drop the different ones to find the different retreats. But if you just go there and click on retreats or click on couples retreats, they will be there. I am launching my next women's retreat too. That'll probably be launched by the time this airs. So I'm hosting another women's only retreat in California, in Palm Springs, in the Joshua Tree National Park area, because I love the beauty of being outside in January. So all the details will be there. But yeah, you can find me, reach out to me anywhere. And I can't wait to hear more from your community.
So amazing. If Erin's story lit something up in you, if you're ready to stop apologizing, to stop shrinking and start living unapologetically, then it's time to get exposed. Join our Xposed Living community on Facebook, subscribe to the podcast, and share this episode with someone who needs the reminder that freedom, faith, and authenticity aren't just buzzwords, they're choices. Because life isn't about waiting for permission. It's about being bold enough to live free, as Erin has demonstrated and shared with us today. She lives alive and unapologetically her. That's what these movements are all about. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, thank you.
That's it for today's episode of Xposed Living, Be Ageless. But this is just the beginning. If this episode made you feel something, share it. Tag me. Send it to a friend. Let's start the conversation we can be having all along. No shame, no guilt. Unfiltered, raw, real, exposed. And if you're ready to go deeper, join us inside the Xposed Living Facebook community, where we take this work off the podcast and into real life. Know this, your change starts when your excuses die. Because this life, this one wild, ageless, unforgettable life is waiting on you. This is your time. This is your truth. This is Xposed Living.